First pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever select Caitlin Clark, University of Iowa.
He's playing at a whole different level right now, and America is watching.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hey, what's up, Caitlin?
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin.
Caitlin.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
She's growing Iowa's economy.
Tim McGraw comes out on stage in Des Moines wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey. I mean, it's bananas right now.
We're on the bus, and we're all just kind of like, oh my gosh. You're walking out into a sea, like quite literally a sea of gold. And to see all those people, oh my gosh.
Caitlin Clark has become the biggest phenomenon the WNBA has ever experienced, and that is precisely where the tension begins. The league is not struggling because of jealousy, officiating issues, or poor promotion. The real issue is far simpler. The WNBA was never structured to absorb the impact of one player rising this quickly and on this scale. Caitlin Clark did not harm the league, she exposed its limits. Once that reality sets in, it becomes impossible to ignore. From the moment she entered the WNBA, this was never a slow introduction or a cautious wait-and-see moment. She arrived as a fully formed national spectacle.
Wow! You bet! From beyond the logo! And a little point afterwards. She knows how to spark the crowd.
There was no gradual build, no easing into public attention. Interest did not trickle in over time. It crashed into the system all at once. Television networks adjusted schedules immediately. Tickets sold out almost overnight. Ratings spiked every time she stepped onto the court. Before long, nearly every discussion about the league revolved around a single name. That speed is what many people fail to recognize. Professional sports leagues are designed for steady, manageable growth, not sudden overload. They expect hype to develop incrementally. They expect stars to rise together, not one at a time. They expect to have room to adapt as attention increases. Caitlin Clark shattered that structure. She compressed years of momentum into a matter of months, and even the strongest systems feel strain when that happens. Every league operates on unspoken assumptions. They assume star power will distribute itself naturally. They assume media attention will balance out over time. They assume fans will connect to teams, rivalries, and long-running narratives, not just a single individual. The WNBA was built on those same assumptions. Caitlin Clark's rise forced every one of them into the spotlight simultaneously.
How monumental is the Caitlin Clark effect? Clark will make her regular season WNBA debut on Tuesday when the Indiana Fever take on the Connecticut Sun. And as expected, the game is already sold out. Ticket prices have skyrocketed. Courtside seats for this game are reselling for over $2,000 each. As for the rest of the league, the Las Vegas Aces and Washington Mystics have already moved to bigger venues to accommodate for the demand when Caitlin Clark comes to town. The Indiana Fever have also become the most followed WNBA team on Instagram. The Caitlin Clark effect is real.
Caitlin Clark did not enter the league intending to turn everything upside down, but her arrival forced multiple issues into the spotlight all at once. She did not rise at the same pace as the WNBA itself. She moved faster than the structure surrounding her, and that gap matters more than any heated debate playing out online. When one player becomes the primary engine driving attention, every surrounding detail gets magnified. Moments that once felt routine suddenly carried extra weight. A standard officiating call began to feel charged. A quiet game turned into a major discussion point. League decisions that previously stayed behind closed doors were now evaluated publicly, all through a single narrowed lens. That shift did not come from bad intentions. It came from attention concentrating in one place. Situations that normally would not spark debate began drawing strong reactions. Schedule adjustments became controversies. Television coverage choices were dissected. Referee calls, something every professional league wrestles with, started to feel like statements rather than simple judgment calls. Even the league's internal atmosphere shifted, not because players suddenly behaved differently, but because the environment around them became heavier and more intense. The uncomfortable truth is that this situation is not really about Caitlin Clark as an individual. It is about what happens when a system designed for slow, controlled growth is suddenly forced to absorb massive attention without warning. Everyone involved had to react quickly, make adjustments on the fly, and deal with pressure that arrived all at once. League executives found themselves facing scrutiny they had never been trained to handle. Established players had to navigate a media landscape that now revolved around a different focal point. Fans poured excitement, anxiety, and expectations into moments that were far more complex than they appeared. Everyone was operating on instinct because there was no tested roadmap for a moment like this. That is why the period felt unstable at times. Not hostile, not personal, just overloaded. A familiar argument always surfaces in these discussions. Some insist the league should have been prepared, that years of growth talk and long-term planning should have made this moment predictable. But preparation does not work in neat stages. You do not suddenly become ready for global-level attention just because success arrives. Organizational structures need time to catch up, and culture always lags behind visibility. That delay is not unique, and basketball history makes that clear. In the late 1970s, the NBA itself struggled for relevance. Attendance was inconsistent. Television exposure was unreliable. The talent existed but the urgency did not. Then Magic Johnson and Larry Bird entered the league around the same time. Their rivalry did more than elevate their teams. It forced the NBA to rethink how it presented itself. Media priorities shifted rapidly. Scheduling became more deliberate. Marketing sharpened its focus. The league had not been fully built for how quickly that storyline would capture the nation, but it adapted because standing still was not an option. The structure absorbed the pressure and emerged changed. Not long after, the same pattern appeared again, only this time the spotlight narrowed even further. One player became the center of everything. Michael Jordan entered the league as pure must-watch energy, and the attention followed him relentlessly.
The same hunger. Jordan. Yes. Michael Jordan always trying to improve his shot position, the ability to put it on the floor.
Michael Jordan's talent was unquestionable, but the league surrounding him was not prepared for the level of global obsession he would eventually generate. The NBA did not immediately understand how to present him or how far his influence could reach. His early teams were not dominating the league, and many questioned whether his style of play could actually lead to championships. Even so, attention followed him relentlessly. Jordan did not damage the NBA. He exposed the gap between extraordinary talent and existing infrastructure. The league needed time to grow into the magnitude of his appeal. Rules evolved. Media strategies shifted. The game itself adapted. Global expansion came later. The NBA did not become a worldwide brand because it predicted the future perfectly. It became one because it learned to adapt while being pushed forward by rare, transformative players. That is the real lesson from those eras. It is not about ranking legends against one another. It is about timing. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird arrived when the NBA was unstable but open to reinvention. Jordan entered when the league was more stable yet still largely domestic. In every case, attention accelerated faster than expected, forcing the league to adjust while already in motion. That is the same position the WNBA finds itself in today, but with an added challenge. The media environment is entirely different now. When Magic and Bird played, attention moved on a fixed schedule. Games aired at specific times. Stories spread through newspapers and highlight shows. When Jordan rose, the league was only beginning to understand global television and brand-driven storytelling. There was time to build context and space to adapt. Today, attention does not wait. Social media pushes clips instantly. Narratives form before games even end. A single moment can dominate conversation before details have time to settle. That speed does more than magnify stars. It forces leagues to make decisions faster than ever, often before the full picture is clear. The WNBA is not only adjusting to Caitlin Clark's rapid rise, it is adjusting to a media ecosystem that tracks her every move in real time. Nothing passes quietly anymore. Every play becomes content. Every reaction is clipped, reposted, and debated. Any perceived mistake does not fade away. It repeats. That is why this moment feels more urgent than those of past eras. The league is not simply responding to growth. It is responding to constant visibility. There is no longer a buffer, no grace period to resolve issues privately. This level of exposure demands sharper coordination, clearer messaging, and more deliberate planning than sports leagues once required. That does not make the situation unmanageable. It makes it modern. Pressure only appears where expansion is happening. Weak points do not reveal themselves until they are tested. Caitlin Clark did not create chaos. She highlighted areas that now need to evolve. Media systems will adapt. Scheduling will become more efficient. The ways stars are supported and presented will broaden over time. These changes rarely happen in advance. They happen after the moment arrives, and adaptation always takes time. If the league responds effectively, this period becomes a turning point, a phase where women's basketball moves from steady momentum to lasting relevance. A phase where coverage deepens, structures modernize, and multiple stars can flourish without the narrative collapsing around a single figure. In that future, Caitlin Clark is the catalyst, not the burden.
Carter and Clark. I mean, that's clearly a foul, which was called. The question is, will they call it unnecessary? I think that's going to be a flagrant one, and
I'm talking about in college. Who plays the style that how?
What is the
plays?
style? Just threes?
Wow.
What,
Not just threes.
what is her style?
Second page. Next question. So if you had the number one pick this year, you would take Paige over Caitlin? Absolutely.
Does Caitlin Clark need a championship to be considered one of the greats in women's college basketball history?
Yeah.
If adaptation slows or stalls, friction remains. The same arguments continue to cycle, the same controversies resurface, and attention is drained by conflict instead of being invested in progress. Over time, fatigue sets in, not because fans lose interest but because momentum never solidifies into stability. That is the true crossroads the league is facing, and it extends far beyond any single player. This moment is not just about how Caitlin Clark is discussed or managed. It is about whether the league can move beyond its previous limits and evolve at the same pace as the audience watching it. That audience is changing rapidly both culturally and digitally. Caitlin Clark did not create this pressure. She revealed it. What the WNBA chooses to do next will shape the league's identity for the next decade. This is not about taking sides or assigning blame. It is about recognizing that a larger spotlight requires stronger, more adaptable systems. The real question is not whether Caitlin Clark is too big for the league. That framing misses the point entirely. The real issue is whether the league can grow quickly enough to meet the moment she represents.